Oh, there we go. Camera malfunction. Hi, guys.
Howdy.
Right.
Hey.
Oh,
Greetings, everyone.
hello.
Welcome
Welcome
back,
to the show.
my friends. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends.
We have a fully featured get-go.
Sometimes.
We're going to do some introductions and go around the table, and then we'll crack on the show as per usual. Let's bring this up. Let's see if we're ready. So, my name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter community leader, CTO of Dev Angels London. You can follow me on Twitter and other places at Dev Angels London. Randall.
I'm Randall Schwartz. I'm a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert for about 7 years now, since the very beginning of the program. I answer lots of questions on Stack Overflow, not so much anymore there, but Stack Overflow, Reddit, and Discord, and other places that I can see questions. And for this show, I am the question magician, which means I am watching the live chat. If you put Q: in front of what you're saying, I know it's a question for us, the panel. So please flag your questions that way so they stand out easier. Otherwise, I presume you're talking amongst yourselves, answering each other's questions and stuff. But that's what I do.
Danielle.
Hey, everybody. I'm Danielle Cox. I'm the Flutter tech lead at a startup called Ardly, and I'm also one of the organizers of the Flutteristas. We're an international group of women and non-binary Flutter enthusiasts. So if you haven't heard of us and you want to hear more, hit me up, and I'll be happy to talk for hours about it.
Wonderful. John can't be with us today, but we have some other guests. Matthew, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I am Matthew Jones. I am a senior Flutter mobile engineer at a very large bank, but my passion is my YouTube channel. You can find me on YouTube at Makerinator and also a few other places as well under the handle Makerinator. And I am, I'm super excited to be a guest. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. And the famous Chris Sells. Hey, Chris Sells.
Hey, I'm Chris Sells. I like Dart and Flutter and AI, not necessarily in that order, although... No, it's a tie. I love them all.
Well, we'll just quickly do the do's and don'ts, and then we'll get into the show. Randall.
Sure. So be nice, be respectful, be constructive. You're talking to real human beings through the chat, so please respect that there are other human beings on the other end of that conversation. We're not all bots. Some of us are actually human. Don't post anything if it's adult or rude or offensive. Just please don't. Don't advertise or promote anything. It doesn't. First off, you can't post any URLs in the chat at all. They'll just disappear. And second, the only people who get to promote have to have their face on the screen. So get your face on the screen on a future show, and you can talk about whatever you want. Don't spam. Don't post the same thing again and again. It's very boring. Not only that, but if you post the same question again and again, I take you out of the list from the first one and put you into the list on the second one. So you lose your place in line. Don't do that. Don't post the same question again and again. We've seen them. Really. We just have to take time to get to them. Harassment of any kind, not tolerated at all. We have ban hammers, and we do use them when needed. But do have a good time. We enjoy sharing what we're doing here. We're having a good time sharing it with you, and we would invite you to also share along with a good time by getting your questions answered or just being mildly entertained by our occasional cross comments. So yes.
Indeed, have a good time. We've also got this little guide here. I'll get the thing off the screen. Basically, if you follow these steps, you can share code or any other stuff with us. All we need is you go follow these steps, go to just.no, put out a description. Ideally, put something .dart so that we get the syntax highlighting, and then you publish it. And it can be secret or public, but we just need that hash from the URL, and then we can look that up and see where we go from there. Right, I think that kind of covers the usual. So if you do try and put a URL in a message, we won't get it. The whole message, not just the URL. So be sure to, if you do want to publish something to us, just the hash, How's everyone doing? Had a busy week?
I'm doing good. I'm excited Chris is on. After I saw your talk at FlutterCon NYC, I started playing around with the Flutter AI toolkit a little bit and have been having a lot of fun doing a lot of AI stuff.
Cool.
It's crazy because I was always kind of standoffish about AI, and then between your talk and a few others at FlutterCon, I was like, I really should just get my head out of the sand and dig into it. It's completely changed my workflow. It's insane. So, super excited to get to hang out.
Yeah, I mean, it is the case that our job has now changed from software engineers to software engineering manager of AI agents. Not everyone has gotten the memo yet, but that's okay. It'll get there. The future is here. It's just unevenly distributed.
Yeah,
It's insane. Yesterday, I cranked out like the UI for an entire new section of the app that would have that I work on at work, and it would have taken me probably a good month and a half to crank all this out, and I did it in a day just because I just kept firing off agents. And I'm like, I'm code reviewing, I'm reading every line of code. It's good. It's just it's made me so much more productive. So,
well, it is interesting. There is anecdotally a phenomenon where you first really start using these tools, and there's like a high, right? I mean, because as software engineers, or at least a lot of software engineers, kind of get that dopamine rush, right? We write a bunch of code and then it runs, and then that's that dopamine rush. With an AI coding agent, the gap between hits of dopamine goes way down. And so now you're like, well, in the old days it was, hey, I have to, now I've done a thing and it's, midnight, and I can go to bed because the next thing is going to take, 8 or 10 or 12 more hours, right? So I'm going to get a good night's sleep and get up. Except now it's like, oh, the next new thing is going to take me 5 minutes. Right. And you keep doing that, right? Over and over and over again. And the dopamine keeps you up, and the rush of I can just do the next new thing in 5 more minutes. And suddenly, you've been coding for 40 hours. And this is a thing, right? That people find this when they first adopt these tools.
I used to do websites back in the 2000s when that was a thing, right? When that was the latest and greatest thing. And I loathe CSS. I really do. Like when you're trying to do stuff with CSS and DOM, it is like fighting, like boxing with your computer. It really is sometimes. And the other day, a friend of mine wanted a website, so I said, "Oh, look, I'll use an AI agent and I'll whip you something up, right?" And it was literally like what you just said. It was like, "Oh, this works," and now I'm like, "Oh, just add the light box. It pops up and you can zoom out. Oh, add this animation, boom, and then like, oh, add keyboard support."
You've nailed it, Simon. This is my soapbox. Everyone is so focused on like the idea of the floor being lowered in terms of what you can do because you can write out a prompt and do something. They're missing the fact that those of us who understand what we're doing, the ceiling has raised. And so we're able to do such incredible stuff now that we weren't able to before. And yeah.
I mean, I'll give you an example, right? So I kind of the thing I also found out when I was doing this, like, so for example, this the lightbox thing, for an example. You know what I mean? Like get the pop up inside your browser for like enlarging a photo or something. And was to tap outside and have it dismiss, right? And it was working. And then I also had some animations and it changed the size of some of the DOM things. And now the click outside wasn't working, right? So I said, it's not working anymore. Fix it. Anyway, I fixed it. And I'm like, still not working. And so I looked at the DOM tree and I go, oh, it's because it's got 2 of these widgets on top of each other. It's a Z order thing, right? I can make that, like, I can see that, right? So I tell it what the problem is and it can go fix it. But literally, it was just going around in circles saying it's fixed it, And I think it's that kind of thing where having that knowledge and having the AI together just elevates it. I think I see a lot about vibe coding where people who don't know development, they do vibe coding and they hit a limit. They hit like a wall and they can't get to do what they want. They get frustrated, right? Whereas I think as developers, we kind of have that almost that inroad of going, oh, we know what we're looking for. We can see a bit and understand it enough to go, okay, try this other thing, right? And that kind of just elevates it that little bit more.
Honestly, Simon, I think it's more important now than ever to actually understand what's going on. Yeah, I'm sorry, Randall, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to interrupt to say that I'm finding I can get technical debt done 10 times faster. So it's there's an advantage to that.
I was writing some tests earlier today, and I was telling it which tests I wanted to have to start with, and it found that I'd left something out, in the code part, and so once again, if it was going to write an as-built test, if I didn't tell it otherwise, it was going to change the test to make it match what happened. But the fact that I had actually given it a little bit more of a prompt, it helped us actually figure out what was going on and do it. And the other thing I wanted to say is I'm teaching some kids at OU, my alma mater, a boot camp that they do. I do this pretty much every semester now. And this is the first time where we've kind of turned them loose with some AI to do stuff. And I would look at like 4 different things that were done. 3 of them were pretty good, and one of them was just off the rails. And again, since they didn't really know, like you were saying, Matthew, so they didn't really know, it was like a they made it to PR that way, and it was horrible. It was like, I don't know, something you could have done in an inline UI as code kind of a thing, and it was taking the list and turning it into a map and doing something else, and then turning it back to a list to be the contents of a column or something. It was like crazy what it was doing, not even close to right. But the other things were really good, and one of them was actually really, really good in that the way we were doing it, it actually went ahead and took what it had done and put a main at the top of it, so that part could just be tested, while these guys were just working on their little things. And I thought that was a pretty good idea, for what we, for the contents of what we were doing, to be able to do that. We can remove that always later, but it let them show off kind of what they were doing without having to either create their own main programs or main files, or worse yet, everybody putting the same thing in the same main file, so that nothing can ever get merged. So yeah, it was pretty cool to see that.
So I was just thinking about this. So I was fiddling around using some AI to make a Flutter app, and it wasn't using best practices, what I would consider best practices, right? And I could tend to go fix the issues I saw, like you just suggested there, like something was suboptimal, and there's definitely better ways of doing it. And you can say as a developer, oh, do it this way. Mm-hmm. So what you've done is how it should be done, and you can get to go further, right, and enhance your speed. But I do wonder, actually, I wonder if I haven't tried saying, oh, I want you to be a Flutter expert with Flutter's best practices and apply them to the whole thing, right? And it probably just sort those problems out, right? So there's definitely like a lot of ways out of these
sure
situations.
So I know that we have questions from the audience, but I would like to hijack this. I've got a question for Chris that I want to address. So if it's okay, I have settled into kind of Cursor as like my primary AI IDE thing that I use. But since you spend a lot more time working with AI and Flutter specifically, my question for you is there a tool or tools that I'm missing that maybe I should be thinking about, or maybe I should be looking at adding into my workflow?
The answer is absolutely yes. Only because by definition, the number of tools is exploding right now. We are in the middle of a Cambrian explosion. It's like the internet, right? When people were building pets.com, right? And everything was the internet. And the reason is the same, right? Because VCs are funding AI startups now like they used to be funding internet startups in the day. So, there are some recommendations I will make to answer your question. One, let me ask you this question. Cursor 2.0 just dropped. Have you switched over to the agents view in Cursor?
I have played around with the agents view a little bit. I'm not using it primarily. So typically I've been in the developer view, but it looks like, explain to me what it is, because I have not. Okay. I looked at it and I'm like, I don't see how this works in my workflow.
Let me talk about the kind of click stops in terms of actually let me think. I did this at FlutterCon and I'll do it again here, which is the 5 stages of AI grief, right? Which is you start, and I still see a ton of engineers in denial, right? I'm not going to use these tools. I used it once 2 years ago. The output was crappy, right? I'm going back to the way I've done it since, I was 14 on my Apple II Plus, which is where I started, right? Then they go through kind of various phases to eventually they get to where more engineers are starting on the real, okay, let me try kind of, using an AI coding agent, and maybe I'll watch a YouTube video, maybe I'll dig into spec-driven development, which is pretty much kind of our best way of thinking about, the right way to guide AI coding tools of any kind right now, which is, hey, let me kind of brainstorm, pull out a plan, a technical design. Now let me go execute on that design. Let me have tasks that take you, down the line. And the combination of spec-driven design, which, by the way, as a PM for the last 20 plus years, warms the cockles of my heart, because for the last 20 years I couldn't get engineers to read my PRDs. Now they're all writing them, right, so that they can feed them into the AI coding agents, right? So that's pretty great. Myself, I've moved on from PRDs, and we can talk about what I use instead. But anyway, it's kind of like having a plan, right? Which is, what are we trying to accomplish? What are the technologies involved? What are the best practices? What is the design of the thing that we want to build? And then, what's the list of tasks? And you can have that all in one file. You can spread it across multiple files, multiple other technologies, but that's what it boils down to. And then bang, go and do it. Ideally, there's write some tests in there. I like to do this in a test-driven way, right? Write the test first before you get polluted by what the implementation is, and you tailor the test to the implementation. Write the test first, based on whatever the specification is of what you're doing. Then write the implementation, iterate until the test pass. Wham! Right, you got yourself a PR. Right, that's the way. That's kind of our best practices. And there are kind of multiple. There's one big switch you can throw, which is kind of synchronous versus asynchronous. Synchronous, and these are weird terminology, but this is what we're kind of settled on, or settling on as a industry. But let's talk about the synchronous tools, and you never hear them called that but I use that term versus the cloud-based async. So let's talk about, hey, you're in your command line, you're in your development environment, you're using your sync tools. It's either Visual Studio Code extension, or it's Cursor with a Visual Studio Code extension, or the command line, or some combination of the two, right? Those are all the kind of synchronous. I'm interacting with the tools. I'm doing the thing right now. Great. Here's some advice I will give you. One is Cursor is a great. That is my base. I pay the money every month so that I can have Cursor as my base, because if I ever do accidentally stumble into code, I like all of the interactive features, right? I like pressing Control K. I like the putting in comments, and magically code appears, and it not only does it do syntax or suggestions, right, when I'm writing new code, but it also does edit suggestions, right, which is fantastic. Cursor is fantastic as a base. When you're writing code, you want Cursor. But the chat mode, the agent mode in Cursor has gotten a lot better in recent times, and you can choose whatever model you want, and you can pay the extra money and get the extra capability. However, I would not recommend using the chat interface or the agent interface in Cursor. Instead, what I would recommend, and this is what I do, is I prefer not to use CLI tools unless I don't have any choice. For example, when I'm using Gemini, it's only the CLI tool, because the Visual Studio Code extension for Gemini right now is completely worthless. It's actively damaging to my projects, I've found. But the Gemini CLI is fantastic, right? And it's open source. The community is doing a great job adding tools. But regardless, I recommend if you're going to be using Gemini, use the Gemini tool. If you're going to be using GPT-5 Codex, use the Codex, the OpenAI Visual Studio extension. If you're going to be using Claude Code, use the Claude Code command line or the Visual Studio extension, because we have gotten into a cycle where all of these frontier models are pulling in real world data of how we're using their coding models from various sources. And they're training the models and based on this real world data, and they're updating the tools to build the prompts that goes with these models. They're building them in lockstep, right? It's like, when Microsoft in the olden days, and I'm dating myself here, was building the .NET framework, C# and Visual Studio all simultaneously, so they all worked really well together, right? If you're doing, to this day, if you're doing .NET programming, that's still the magic combination, right? Because they're all built together. That's what's going on. Now, all of these frontier models, for the big tools, right? I'm sure, Cursor has the equivalent of the Red phone where they can talk to OpenAI and they can talk to Anthropic and they talk to Google and they can get tips and tricks, right? How do you optimize your prompts? And the good tools are doing that, right? They actually have prompts per model that actually are optimized. But even so, the very best behavior you're going to get is the tool that goes with the model, right? Okay, so that's one piece of advice I will give you. They're built and optimized together. So if you're going to use Claude Code, etc. Great. So those are the synchronous tools. And the reason I asked you if you were using the new agent mode in Cursor is because you can see where the world is going, right? IDEs are very much file centric, right? You got some panels on the sides, you got the palette and the status bar, but the whole thing is built to be optimized around your text file because you're going to spend 99% of your time, writing every line of every file in your project, which is no longer the case. You go to agent mode in Cursor and it shows you the future, which is, let me have a conversation with N agents, right? Not one, right? But N, all working on this project simultaneously. And I can choose per prompt and per conversation, I can choose what model I want to use, right? And the reason that's the future is and you can flip the switch and say, do Git work tree, and they can all be, working on their own copy of the code on their own branch. And then, then you got the merge that happens after. That is the future because, as I said earlier, every software engineer has just become a software engineering manager, and their ability to be able to handle more and more agents over time is their ability to be able to embrace this technology and really take advantage of it, right? At this point, the AI agents, the frontier models are so capable, and even some of the open source models are so capable that it's really about setting up the right guardrails, right? What do I want? What is the eval function that defines success? A set of passing tests, a set of matching UX designs, keep iterating until you're done, right? And to the degree that you can have more and more of those going simultaneously judges your ability to do more and more as a team, right? Because now you're a team. You've got a team. Every software engineer is now a team. And so, you look at what Cursor has built with their agent mode, that is a local reflection. It's kind of a synchronous reflection, although at this point, the asynchronous versus synchronous blends because now you're firing up a number of these agents. Now take that out of your IDE, take it out of even your machine, and let me tell you a story. So I was on, I try to get, I'm a swimmer. I try to get in the pool every morning, get all of that nasty exercise out of the way, because then I can sit in my chair guilt-free for the rest of the day and, direct AI coding agents to do my bidding, right? So I was on the way to the pool the other day, and I had this crazy idea for this thing that I've been trying to get the Dart Flutter team to do forever, and they are not interested. So I'm like, screw it, I'm going to do it myself, which is, where most engineering projects come from, right? So I pulled into the parking lot at the pool, and I pulled up my phone and I went to, in this particular case, I went to Codex Cloud, but all of the major vendors have the equivalent, right? These are the asynchronous coding agents, right? This is Jules from Google. This is Codex Cloud, Cloud Code for the web, right? What it does is they just give you a web page. And what you do is you connect your repo and your branch. And then you say, and then you have a prompt, right? And you can enter whatever you want. And so I'm like, okay, I'd forked the Dart and Flutter thing that I cared about. And I pointed the codex for the web or cloud codex at my repo in my branch. And I said, do a thing. Then I shut off my phone, put it in my locker, went and had my swim. Came back, dried off, opened up my phone and saw the progress it had made while I was doing something completely different. And I'm like, okay, and it gave me a summary and it had generated all this code. Great. Step 2, now do this. Put my phone away, drove off to a dentist appointment. This is the God honest truth. This is actually what happened, right? Went to a dentist appointment, got to the dentist appointment, sit in the waiting room for the dentist appointment. Step 2 was done. Great. Now do step 3. Had my dentist appointment, drove home. At this point, I'm like, okay, this thing is code that I can now start playing with. So I fire up Codex inside of Visual Studio Code, and I can pull those code changes down to my local machine, and now I can keep right on going, right? I can have it. I can do some, it's all Flutter. So, I had to do some interactive work and there's some more work I have to do. But I was essentially taking, wasted time as from a software engineering point of view and putting my team of software engineers to work while I did other things. That is the world that I'm not even saying that's where we're going. We're here. It's here. Right? The question is, are we taking advantage of it? So Matt, I don't know if I've answered your question or not. That's how I think about it.
Beautifully. And I feel bad because I've now dominated the first quarter of the show. And so I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to back off. I could actually, there are 20 things that I want to respond to about that, Chris, but I'm not going to because you've given me so many ideas and my brain is spinning. But I also know that we've got questions and we've got other people on the show, but thank you so much. That answers it beautifully. And I have a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to work on now. So thank you.
Excellent.
I actually, though, while we're still in the AI thing, what my company has approved for me to be able to feed our entire code base into kind of thing is Claude. And I'm just curious if people have got experience with that and is it good or not?
I love Claude Code. I have the max on Claude Code, the max on Codex. So I pay the $200 for both of those every month. And I have the equivalent for Gemini, right? Through I have a Google Workspace domain, whatever that is, because salesbrothers.com is Gmail, right? So I have this enterprise plan for Gemini for code. They split the plan in very confusing ways. I don't even know what to call it, but it's the thing that gives me unlimited or near unlimited code access, and I go through all 3 of them because the thing that I love doing. I mean, at this point, I don't run out. They've done a really good job there in their unlimited plans, and I'm not smart enough to juggle enough agents simultaneously to actually run out anymore. For a while, I was running out. I'm like, that's not okay, but now I don't, and it's great. And I think one of the reasons is because I have multiple of them, and I bounce back and forth, right? So I'll have Claude Code write me a bunch of code. And maybe it gets all the way to the end and it works, or maybe it is stuck and it can't get to the next phase, in which case then I'll bounce it over to Codex and have it take a look. And I've done this before where one of them, and it's not even Claude Code versus Codex because they're both excellent, where one of them gets stuck and I hand it over to the other one and it's like, oh yeah, you didn't, put this semicolon or whatever, right? Some simple little thing that it finds in 2 minutes, right? And that is super powerful because these models are built by completely different companies. They're trying to solve the same problem and they do it beautifully, but they do it differently, right? So they are fantastic, right? One of the features that the async coding tools these days are busy building is this ability to say, hey, I want you to do this. And by the way, do it 4 times, right? Because I want you to try 4 different things and let me, hey, maybe one of them works, but it's ugly. And maybe one of them doesn't even work. And the third one works and it's beautiful. I'm like, that's the one, right? But you can take that and split it into, and not only that, but I'll take the same prompt and hand it to a different model completely, right? A different agent completely and see what I get. Again, it's all about how many of these are you able to manage simultaneously to get the best possible results, right? So I use multiple of them. Claude Code, love it, but I bounce it back and forth.
Thank you.
It's so funny because I do the same thing. Like if one of them starts going off the rails, I'll feed it to another one. So I frequently had Claude, Gemini, and GPT-5 all just like bouncing back and forth on stuff. So
yeah, I am super looking forward to Google Gemini 3.0 Pro because 2.5 is lickety split in terms of speed, especially compared with the maximum. Sonnet 4.5 with ultra thinking and GPT-5 with high reasoning. I always max it out. I'd rather have quality over quantity over speed. 2.5 Pro is faster than both of those, but the results are not as good. And so I'm very much looking forward to the Gemini 3, which they've teased but given us no date. So I don't know when it's coming.
All right.
Fun trick for everybody as we're transitioning. Go into ChatGPT and ask it if there's a seahorse emoji. Just go into ChatGPT, say, "Is there a seahorse emoji?" Watch what happens.
Sweet.
I actually have a question for Chris. Have you seen this before? It's called Augment Code.
Sure, for sure. Yeah.
And this is what I found that to get the best results, they've got VS Code, IntelliJ, and CLI, but I found its context engine just to be like the best
Augment Code is really great for that. Another one I've spent a bunch of time with that isn't vendor specific is Klein.bot. Klein was kind of the original open source multi-model. Let's just build a coding agent that gets the most possible squeezes the most out of every one of these coding models. And I worked with the Klein team and they understand what they're doing. They get it. They just released a CLI. They have a whole scripting interface. There's a bunch going on there. There's a bunch of these tools. The only thing keeping me from using them, again, is that whole, the tool and the prompt and the harness and the model are all being, tuned together by the individual vendor. And I find that, over time that gap narrows, but even so. So for example, I played around with the cursor agent-based interface and it's pretty damn good, but I still fall back to using the specific tool from the model vendor.
Cool. Right, to get off AI for a bit, I think we should jump onto questions now.
Yeah, I think so too. We got a long list here, so let's start with this one. First one up was a while back, actually. Kumar Gautam asks how to load 1500 SVG icons once in a list view.
Right?
Yeah, we answered that last week.
It was still left over in the chat here, which is weird.
I think if we don't untick them from last week, maybe they get left instant. I don't know.
Okay, well then let's do this one. How about this one? Any tips? Peter Museum, I think, something like that, with BI at the end. And I can't pronounce that. That's not pronounceable.
Peter.
Peter. Peter, yes. Any tips to improve mobile app startup time metrics? I saw the Android has baseline profiles, but this seems to be P3 on Flutter issues on GitHub.
Mobile. I've never had a problem with mobile app startup time, to be honest, even with Flutter apps. So what you might be experiencing, and I've seen this, actually saw this the other day. If you've got Google Analytics, I saw some big delays, like Firebase Analytics, I think it was, I can't remember what it was, in an app. As soon as I removed that, the app started up immediately. So yeah, maybe there's third-party packages you're using that are integrating native code that's slowing down your app startup, not necessarily Flutter specific. And I think this is the problem. A lot of these issues need to be profiled, and you need to look at what might be causing the issues. But Flutter itself, build a fresh Flutter app, it starts up fine. It starts up lickety split, right? There's obviously an amount that you're doing whilst the app starts up, right? So if you need to go do like 100 network requests before your app starts up, before your app shows like the first screen, well, obviously that's the problem with the way that you built your app, right?
You laugh. I actually, at a previous job, walked in and like it was taking them 2 minutes to get the app to start up. And I was looking at it and they were downloading every possible piece of data that they could possibly need for the entire user experience. It was like hundreds of megabytes of data. And I'm like, and they were like, yeah, but it goes so fast once it starts. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. No one's going to wait. Anyway, sorry.
I mean, like, so that's a fallacy. So it's kind of interesting. Batch downloading stuff is still a perfectly viable solution, but it's about how you batch and what you're batching, right? Like having 200 meg, that's obviously ridiculous, right? But I've seen this before. So there's actually it's a dynamic that's been around a while, mobile apps. So just want to talk about this briefly on this point you just mentioned, which is every connection has an overhead, right? Especially if the very initial connections that your app makes. But with HTTP 2 and 3, that overhead decreases, right? Because you now have multiplexing on single connections. There's a bunch of other stuff that you can take advantage of. That means making multiple connections is not actually as expensive as it would be if it was HTTP 1/1.1. So that's one thing to think about. So if your server side supports it, then you probably making multiple requests is less problematic. What you used to do on mobile apps to get around this initially was that you would have custom endpoints that return back the data you need for one screen. So let's say it's your home screen where you maybe got samples of data that the user could go look at, maybe the last 5 messages they looked at, or the latest news, or whatever it is. You might have an endpoint called home, which returns you all that data, and then you can present that to the user. And that way, you're essentially, it's very much like the GraphQL kind of thing of get the data you need for the screen that you're on. And that kind of solves that problem. But again, like also like having things synchronized, like again, it's not a problem. Like news apps do this all the time, right? Which is they'll download the latest articles, or before they send out like a push notification for breaking news, right? Like some sort of emergency breaking news thing they need to publish. They'll make sure that's on devices before the notification pops up to the user, so that it's immediately there. They don't get hit to their servers of it downloading all at once, you know. So yeah, there's definitely things you can improve there. But again, it's about just thinking and working on your product that makes the most sense for what you're doing. I'll shut up now.
Hey, Randall. I think the first question we had today is buried down in the middle of our stuff. It was the one from Jim Dave, it looks like.
Yeah, it's now kicking in when it gets starred. It's in the order that it gets starred, not the order that it was originally asked, which is really annoying.
We'll get to all questions, as we said earlier. Like, post the question, then we'll get to you and we'll get to it.
We've got it. We've got it. Next one I actually already answered in the chat, which is Tin Can asked, what's the best signal lib? And I got them to explain that they meant essentially package signals, you know, or similar things. And signals is, as far as I can tell, the top of the heap in terms of maturity and
the package signals is the one made by Roddy Davis. We had him on last week. And it's the one that we've all been like looking at and using. And I think like his integration with Flutter's ecosystem is second to none compared to the rest. So to me, that kind of puts it head and shoulders above the rest. So.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate Tin Can asking about signals, though? Like, I'm just picturing, like, you know, when you were kids and you had the 2 tin cans and, like, the string in between and, like, you talking and listening back and forth, you know? Sorry.
For those that don't know what package we're talking about, the link is in the chat. That you can go look it up if you're interested.
Sure.
It's excellent. Check it out.
Or see about 6 of the past 15 shows where we keep bringing up signals for no apparent reason. I'm excited about it. Yes, right.
I like the idea of so also Rody. Sorry, before we jump off, Rody actually did on the documentation for signals. Now he's actually done a AI prompting for like understanding signals, so he can understand how signals work and behave, and also how to migrate things from like Riverpod to Signal. It's all in like the AI thing, so it'll just do it for you now. So check out the it's in the Getting Started guide of the documentation, I think somewhere. The bottom of the Getting Started guide. I'll put the link to it in the chat.
Dope. That's awesome.
I tried looking for that last week and I couldn't find it.
That you guys can use llms.text.
Okay.
I think that is something that we should all start doing with like our packages and stuff we put out. That's fantastic.
Yeah, like it's just a brilliant like whole thing with examples and everything. So
nice.
Cool. All right, next one is from Anonymous.
I was
somehow you managed to get an empty screen.
Sorry. I was just saying, Randall, before we do that, I'm gonna have to jump off. I was able to join being later, but I do have other meetings coming up. So great seeing everybody. And do we know if we're doing it noon or 1 next week? Do we know?
It will be noon again. It'll be
back for me, my time, Eastern time.
Yep, I'm awesome Eastern. I'm good for another 15 minutes, but similar situation because we started late. So,
yes, we'll just push through. All right, so this one is from Anonymous because somehow they managed to get their name to be just @ which is weird. I don't know how you did that. Anonymous. It's Guy Fawkes Day too. What do you know? Okay, anyway.
If you hit fireworks on my side, it will be because it's Guy Fawkes Day right over here.
Right.
For those that don't know what it's about, go look up Guy Fawkes if you want, or go watch V for Vendetta. That's kind of like the modern twist on it.
Sure.
V for Vendetta is amazing. One of my favorites.
So a simple Riverpod notifier provider that updates a string parameter. How do I update it from the text field, but also update the text field when the value in that provider updates? So you can't have 2 directional dependencies like that. It just doesn't work well. So don't. You got to have a source of truth, and then let that source of truth be something maybe that other things can update.
You can normally get away with this if you do when you're setting the value, you compare it to the existing value, so you don't like create a cyclic dependency, right? So you can say if the value is equal to this previous value, then don't do anything, right? That breaks the cycle, right? But it's kind of it depends. You should be probably setting the initial value anyway before you show the text field, and then the text field uses that value and then updates that value, right? There's a process called unidirectional data flow. You can go look this up, and it's just this principle of like data flows one way in your application, like in one direction, and this way you don't get into these weird and funky things of one thing updates another, and you end up with like understanding the logic and behavior of your application becomes really problematic.
Yeah, with signals, you can actually use a read-only get the value and without subscribing, and then you can set up essentially where one updates the other, but it doesn't make a loop, which is kind of nice. Pretty cool. Anyway,
Rody's package also supports detecting of those loops and throws, so you know if you get into an infinite loop situation.
Yep. And here's Peter Museum. Did we do this one already? No. Okay. Facing permission denied, error number equals 13 error issues, even after adding USB perms while integrating an external USB RFID reader. Also hard to debug since mobile has one USB port using Flutter live serial port. Well, that sucks.
I don't recognize, without knowing what the 13 issues are.
Error
I'm
number
reading it
13.
wrong. Error number 13. Error number 13. I'm like, got it.
So that's permission denied, I think. EPERM.
Yeah, I was gonna say for those that don't know, error number there's a standard set of error numbers that Linux has Unix and then onto Linux has.
It's insufficient permissions.
With a positive stand.
Yeah.
Which is where you get these like standard error numbers from that are cross platform. Yeah, anyway.
Dumb question. Are you sure that you have set up your? I'm assuming you're using an Android device for this. If you
Sorry. Just be go carry on.
No. Okay. So if it's an Android device, make sure that you've given it access to the USB port, because it could be just set up for charging only. And if you don't have it set up for charging and data, that could be a problem. There's a bunch of different stuff here. If it's on a Linux device or a desktop PC, that would be a. Oh, I see. Even after adding USB permissions.
So it. Even asked, sorry, what was this? Something you put in the chat?
Lane Hogan says mentions he has USB permissions on there. That doesn't mean though that just because you ask for USB permissions doesn't necessarily mean that you've set it up for. Well,
so
okay.
If it's a managed device, like it's got a work profile, like a managed profile, they may be denying USB access. That's one thing to mention.
Yeah.
So if this is like a test device, make sure it's fresh factory reset, right? So you're not getting into any weird, funky behaviors over that. If you remember rightly, you're actually supposed to access the request the USB device to be consumed by your application, and there's a whole process you go through. You can't just access like /dev serial port and it'll just work, right? You used to be able to. They stopped that basically. I don't remember what the component is inside of Android, but I totally can't find it.
It has to be Android because iOS doesn't support FlutterLib serial port.
I mean, maybe if you can post some code. I think this is just out of remit otherwise, because there's not much we can actually not much we can do there. Also, you can use a USB on the go connector and like a hub, and you can do stuff like that. You can do other things. But
so here's what I'm going to say: we need code, we need a full error message, and we also need to know the exact device you're using. That would be helpful as well, because I will tell you, I have had different results when it comes to using serial port stuff on Samsung versus like a Pixel. So that might help as well.
And we also need your credit card number and your last 4 digits of your social.
Yes.
Okay, on to the next one. Jim Dave, B4W, says, hi, I've only been using Flutter for a few months. Well, welcome to the Flutter side. What would you recommend to frequently fetch updates from an AI chatbot interface? Would you use a timer which updates a stream? I'm not getting where he's going with this.
I mean, polling is generally a bad architecture if you can get away with it, as obviously everyone on this call knows, right? I mean, probably the person is unfamiliar with how streaming works in Dart, and so all of the Dart based talking to AI anything all have kind of regular, hey, just give me the results, and you have to wait however long it takes. But what you want is the stream version, which typically has the stream suffix, and that will hand you a Dart stream, and then you kind of either use a stream builder in your Flutter app. Well, I guess it's a Flutter app, so probably stream builder is the thing you want here.
Yep.
Or the Flutter AI toolkit, depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
The Flutter AI toolkit certainly provides a drop-in Flutter widget that allows you to connect to your model of choice and have a full-featured chat experience, including media file uploads and rich text output, etc. Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
I just found the USB stuff I was looking for that I haven't seen for years. So I'll pop it in the chat if the previous question requester was interested in that. But it is that thing. You have to put USB device attached and you'll filter into your manifest. You have to ask for that permission to have that. And then it will then detect and connect to the relevant place. If you don't know your product and vendor ID and classification information for your USB device, plug into your desktop machine. You can get that through LSUSB or through your like device manager, whatever it is on Mac and Windows, and you can go into the details and get that information. So you can set up your USB filter inside your app so that it detects the device and essentially maps it to your app, and then your app can access the port.
Yeah, cool. Next question.
Sorry.
Pradeep asks, does Flutter have any plans for a default built-in liquid glass feature? Before we can answer that, we have to say none of us work for Google.
Not anymore.
Some of us have before, but none of us at this moment are working for Google.
So yeah, but I will say that there is about, I think, 12 different packages now that do Flutter Glass in many different ways.
Yeah.
And you can go find one and just use it. There you go.
Yep.
That's simple. And
Right.
I'm curious. I've been watching that space develop because I think it's important for Flutter to be able to keep up on all of the modern UI conventions on the devices it supports, and mobile devices are particularly important. I have seen Flutter packages go by that essentially expose the native rendered widgets through to your Flutter app, which is not the Flutter way, although it does give you glass. Has anyone actually done the work to do the rendering to in Flutter? Okay.
Only one, Dominic's one, does the native experience one.
Oh, okay, great. And are they full featured enough to actually build a whole app with at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think I haven't tried, to be personally honest. So, but as far as I understand, they're using all the same standard fragment shaders in support that's built to Flutter. There is some conditions though in terms of if you're not using a device with impeller, then you would get probably less performance because it has to capture the widgets underneath to do the effect on top, to do some of the custom shader stuff. But that's kind of gone away in a couple of most recent months, and as impellers now out on Android as well. So yeah.
Do you have a particular liquid glass implementation for Flutter that you're enamored with that I should take a look at, or are they all okay? I
have not got you a particular recommendation. There's quite a few of them now, if I remember rightly. I think it's because it's such an interesting thing. Most people want to have most of us want to have a go at doing it, and it's when you've got, it's one of those things when you've got here's what the outcome should be. I'm going to go make my own shader to make the outcome. You've got a target, right, to meet. So it's an easy sort of example kind of thing for developers to go for. So I'm not sure how many are on there now. I think there's like 8 or 10. They kind of all came out of the woodwork very quickly.
Yeah, I'm just doing the search now, and there are quite a few.
I would go through them and just find someone that like an author that you recognize, and maybe use that as your first point of call. But yeah, try them out, evaluate them. Maybe there's a future blog post for you, evaluating them and finding which one's best. Make some AI evaluate them and give us its thought. I did know that what was it, the most recent version of iOS, they wanted to add like smoked glass effects and some other things to glass now, and
it's 26.1 or 26.2 or whatever.
So we'll see how fast that goes. I will say that obviously, like anything, and I think this is for me, the thing I don't like about like the glass thing. Oh, it's a nice effect, right? But the question here is, if that effect now takes up more processing power, more GPU processing power in your device, that's more electrical power it needs to take, the more heat it needs to generate. That's now more power from my mobile device. I don't want to be consumed by some silly pixels being like reflected or refracted inside like a little UI thing. So. Right. As much as I like it, I would not choose to have an iPhone with it on. Put it that way, right?
100%.
Could be. It's just me, right? Personally, right? But this is what I'd say to most app developers, even if Flutter developers, say, look, pick and choose your battles, right? If you do all this effort and then realize, oh, all my users now complain that my phone's getting more hot, is getting hotter, and it's consuming more battery, well. You made that change, right? You made that choice. Evaluate it, right? Check the performance, but just be aware that that's a potential outcome, right?
Liquid glass is such a wasteful use of.
Yeah.
It's such a wasteful use of system resources. Like, I understand that we need to support it. I agree with that. I get it.
Yeah.
I just hate it. But
I've
know-
been stuck on 18. I don't want to move to 26 yet, so I'm still like dragging my feet on that as well.
I mean, annoyingly, the other side of this is which is actually one of those things that Flutter. This is the world that Flutter lives in, right? Because it's cross-platform. Is that where iOS might optimize the liquid glass processing and to get the maximum out of the device, we can't use that national effect directly, and therefore we're recreating it. And that now means potentially we're not getting those same benefits, right? To be clear. So they're the differences between maybe using Dominic's one of like using a native glass like widget versus, you know, a Flutter widget. But again, like there's lots of ways to skin a cat, as it were. There's lots of ways of doing it and find what works for you. But I'm not.
So I've been using liquid glass on Mac OS because I'm on the latest Mac OS, and because I'm an Android phone user, I have a Pixel 9 Fold that you will pry out of my cold dead hands.
Correct.
But I love. I mean, I'm a Mac user. It's a weird place to be, right? But I'm enjoying the new user interface. The problem I have is I have to periodically reboot the damn thing because, you know, if I put my laptop into sleep too much, then it suddenly consumes all my system resources and I got to reboot and, you know, something gets stuck and it, you know, goes crazy.
So you just
I like the UI, but it's not worth the price for sure.
Yeah. I was going to say you just struck a nerve there because nowadays the big problem we've got in all development, and this fact this moves so quickly, is that now the end users are the beta testers, right? They got out the door as quickly as possible. There's probably bugs in it that shouldn't have got its way out the door. It didn't have enough thought put into it. Now they're just going to wait for the point releases to fix those issues, right? So you're experiencing that bad experience because they did not do enough upfront effort before release.
That's right.
I think that's that.
Well, but they're on a cadence. Right.
Yeah.
So they have to hit the release dates based on their conference and PR schedule. And by PR, I mean press release, not pull request. And right. I mean, you know, they're trying to do what any good developer evangelist does, right? Which is, you know, keep the stream of news alive and keep users excited about.
Yeah, I'm not just being that. I'm just saying that I think it just sucks in today's kind of like world that the way that the development society has kind of moved towards is this kind of model of get it out and get it quick, and then use the end users as that kind of beta test group. Doesn't matter if it's a bug. We'll push another build. We'll fix it later.
Yeah, when I started software engineering, it wasn't unusual for a software development project to take 2 years. Now, if something takes 2 weeks, that's too long.
Yeah.
Anyone ever have to like write a flow chart for the whole program that you're going to make and then program off the flow chart? Because that's how I learned. In college, they made us like flow chart the whole thing, which is anyway.
Yeah.
So I could spend as much time complaining about liquid glass as I spent, talking about AI earlier today. Unfortunately, I do have a meeting that I have to hop off to. So I apologize for having to jump off. But so it was good hanging out with you guys. Chris, good hanging out with you.
For sure.
Thanks for the AI advice, sir. I'm going to put it into practice later today, actually. So.
And feel free to reach out to me in whatever form if you want to follow up. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty passionate about this space. So if you want to geek out about it, feel free to reach out. And not just you, but the world, right? Awesome. I definitely have been spending a lot of time doing this work. And if people want to chat, that just makes me happy. So feel free to reach out.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, sir. I will take you up on that and have a wonderful day.
All right. See you.
Bye.
All right. And then there were 3. All right. And there's 3 questions. So cool. Kevin Moore, not the Kevmu Moore, but the other Kevin Moore. I'm converting a project to use Signals instead of RiverPod. Yay. I've got everything working, but the one strange thing is I need to assign effects to a variable. Now, that isn't the way that works. An effect should have no output, really. It should be making side effects, but that's all it's supposed to be doing.
And referencing code. That'd be a computed if you want to do that.
Yeah, he wants to compute, but he says, but then he followed up with this, and that still doesn't make sense then, right? I don't want a value. I want to change things. based on the computer system, which is an effect, right? So you're not assigning it to a variable. You're basically
I'm
building
very
it, just
confused.
calling
Maybe you
effect.
can rephrase your
Yeah.
question, Kevin.
Yeah.
Come
on the show. Just come on the show and talk to us. Don't sit there at home. Yes.
If I've got to assign
Yeah.
effects to a variable and reference it in code, why? Maybe not really getting your maybe post a code snippet or something like that. Yeah, and then kind of follow up, I guess.
Yeah, it may be that you're trying to create it in a place that can't just take an expression, because calling effect is essentially an expression, and the only places you can do expressions are when you're assigning it to a variable. So maybe that's where you're getting caught up when you're doing some calculation or some step in a subroutine, like an initialization step. Like you could put an effect. Put an effect in the main, for example, and you can have effect and consume a couple things and have side effects. That'll work because it's one of the steps of the function, but you can't just declare it naked outside everything and have it do anything. I think that's maybe what you're running into, because I've run into that before too, where I actually have to put this effect somewhere where it's going to get executed as part of my control flow getting up to this point. So yeah. Okay. Anything else on that? Or probably enough. That's probably enough.
I think that's good.
Okay. Then show this. Let's see. Pradeep, once again, asked another question. Is it a good practice to have a text editing controller inside block code? No, right?
I wouldn't personally. The thing is, a text editing controller is Flutter specific kind of UI behavior, right? That's a Flutter UI. That's what you use in your ephemeral UI state, right? I would be putting the value that is output by the controller into my block. If the block gets updated, I might be listening to that state change and then updating the value of my controller, right? But there's a line separation there where you've got your plain models and data on one side that you can test without the Flutter framework, where you've got kind of your Flutter framework on the left using that text editing controller. Personally, that's how I would make that separation. You could do things like you could also have like a signal on one side, as we were just saying, and have that kind of feeling. But yeah, just you can do that if you want to. It's just that now what you've done is you've now got a stream of data that you're being listened to, which is the controller, because it has an add listener, remove listener, right? Coming out of your block, and not just the state of the block. Yeah. So your state and event stuff of block is now null and void, right? You're not adhering to the block pattern at that point.
Yep. Let's see here.
So events go in, state comes out, right? That is the block pattern, right? Now you can listen to that state and update your controller, or have your controller, when it gets changed, send an event to update the state, right? And as I said earlier, you can do that two-way communication, right? You can have it going around the circle, essentially unidirectional, and then have a value in there which is to detect if it's the same, and if it's the same, don't send it on, and that way you kind of stop the loop.
Okay, on to the next one. Let's go with this. A ZKQ says, what is the best way to work with LLMs in Flutter? Is it creating multiple instruction files for each part of the app, or is one file enough for this? And how can I ensure the output UI quality?
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, I'll give you a little bit of feedback. I've only ever done it with one like PID file, and then I had multiple markdown files in my project, and then you'll listen to read those as part of the context and understand them. Lots of these tools actually have a particular file that they look for, that you can give them like rules and memory per se. But yeah, I don't know if I'd say there's best practice. I mean, I'm kind of interested to hear what Chris wants to say about this.
Yeah, so there are multiple files that I use routinely here. One of the ones you're talking about, Simon, is often called the agents.md or claude.md, depending on the tool you're using. Gemini has one too. And it's really great for kinds of, best practices. Here's how to run the tests. Here's what the basic file structure looks like, kind of the lay of the land and how we do things around here, right? So, you want to make sure that's got good stuff in it. That makes a difference, because every time you start a new conversation, that's where it starts, right? With whatever's in that file, okay? Then I tend to keep kinds of two files around. The next one is kind of transient, right? I'm doing a new project. Let's lay that out like a new feature, right? Let's lay that out in a file with the design and some requirements and then a task list, and have the agent work through that. And that tends to be transient. And then once I get to a place where I'm happy with the implementation, I'm happy with the architecture that goes with the implementation, I turn in that plan file and the context that the AI agent has built up implementing it, and the tests that go along with it, into docs, right? So how does a user access this feature, or a user guide, or an updated README, an updated change log, all of those kinds of how do we use that thing we just built, and then into a design doc, which is kind of evergreen, right? Either update an existing design doc or build a new one. And those I tend to keep separate. For example, Dartantic, which is my little Dart UI, AI framework. I have a set of docs and examples apps of how to use all the features of Dartantic, but I also have a wiki, right? So I have a wiki folder, which is all the specs of how everything is put together and architected. And that's for people that want to understand how it's built, who want to be contributors, etc. But also, so I publish it as the wiki for the repo, and people can read it and understand things. And it's got like mermaid diagrams and it's stuff like that. But I also use those spec files for future work where I'm like, okay, I want to change how this works, or I want to add functionality. For example, the way I'm doing thinking, I'm in the middle of Dartantic 2.0 and updating how it does thinking. And so I will say, well, here's the spec that talks about how we do thinking right now. I want to update it in these ways. Let's update the tests, let's update the implementation, and then let's update the spec so that next time I want to do something with thinking, it has an updated version. Now, whether those are useful or not, I find them super useful, but I also spend a bunch of times telling the AI agent, okay, based on all the work we just did together, we've now figured out how this is. Now dump it into a file, right? Yeah. Update the file, right? The open question is with the state of the frontier models right now, do you actually need these separate files if you're having AI generate them, right? Can it just dig through the implementation and figure out how things work and kind of build that knowledge on the fly? I tend to think I have been using files. That's the habit I've gotten. But I also say, read this file and dig through the appropriate implementation when I start a new project. But it works well. And that's part of the whole spec-driven development craze that is shaking the nation right now.
Whenever I restart an app, or whenever I predict I'm going to leave any notes that you want in the file notes to myself.md in the top level directory, and it will write itself kind of the status of where we were exactly in the conversation and things that were not working well and stuff. It'll keep those notes so that I can restart with those on my next LLM startup.
So what I find myself doing is having like the PID idea of having that design document, and may have other rules that you want it to follow. And then once I complete something, it's like, okay, now document that. Either put that in the documents directory or docs directory, or update the PID. So you kind of almost have now, next time I want to start a fresh instance, now here's all the knowledge that's still in the repo.
That's right.
Also for a human. That's the other side of this, right? It's not just for an AI, it's also for a human to come along and go, here's how I set up the project, here's how I use it.
So that's what I do too.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. This is the rules. So this is what you were just talking about, which is you've got
that's right.
You can do
And you
custom
put different
fonts.
things in there, right? I mean, because you don't want to
This is the
try to
one.
load all of your, for any reasonably sized project, you can't load all of your specs into context at once. You won't have any room for the code.
So there's a nice thing about Augment, because of its context engine, it already understands all this stuff without actually having to load it into the context of the prompt. So this is kind of nice. You put things in this direction, or recursively go through all the MD files and understand them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's Augment, and every single modern coding agent has the exact same. Yeah, that's right.
But I do like the way that they at least have like agents with and call, which is kind of almost like a standard one. But yeah,
The Flutter extension for Gemini CLI adds a bunch of context already ahead of time of how to specifically do Flutter well, but also a few things which I disagree with, so I have to overwrite them in my own instructions. But also automatically looks for flutter.md, so it will pick that up out of the Gemini directory specifically for Flutter projects only, which is nice. Yeah. All right. Next question is a gist. So you might want to go fetch that gist while we're talking. I'm trying to replicate the Thanos snap animation Easter egg from Google. With Flutter Animate, but it's laggy. How can I improve it without using shaders?
Snap. Is this like real code? Is this the thing like on Google.com or something where you kind of get like a little animation or something? I don't know what this is. Thanos snap animation Easter egg from Google. I'm gonna have to look that thing up because I have no idea what that is.
I don't actually know what it is either.
The original Easter egg. Play the Easter egg now. Well, hang on. How is? So I need to understand what the hell this is. Like Avengers game, yeah. Look up Thanos and go and eventually go on, it appears in the launch panel, just waiting to be clicked. Oh, okay. So you click it.
I'm not seeing that, of course.
Let me just I'll show people. That's nice. It's funny. Okay, sure. Let me open this up for people and they can see it. Let's see.
Yeah.
So here's the. So this is. I'll put the link to this in the chat if people are interested. I guess this is like all where the Easter eggs are, but you might have like a result like this. You click on this, pops up. It's basically it'll then pick random results to get rid of.
Oh,
but this is the effect they're trying to achieve, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So now we know what we're actually talking about. I'll pop that link into the chat for those that are kind of curious. So what's next? Let's have a look at the code. Disintegrate effect. And the thing is, you were saying try and do it without. Why would you try and do this without a? This is like a bad idea. This is literally crying out to be a fragment shader. It's super simple with a fragment shader. Yeah, you said it's laggy, but can it improve without shaders? I mean, quite possibly. Let's have a nosy on this. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll have a look at that. Let's get some more questions, and then we'll leave that one in the queue, and then we'll look at the code.
There's only a couple more. We have from Lane Hogan, who's been answering questions in the chat as well. But newbie question, sorry. What's the best way to wrap content height of a horizontal list view where the child's... This is the same thing we do every week. The child size is unknown different.
What is the best way to wrap the content height of a horizontal list view where the child... I mean, we said this before. You don't is the answer. The best way of doing that is to not do a horizontal list view, to have a single horizontal scrolling single child scroll view, and inside that put a row and inside that, have that wrapped in intrinsic height. That's the easiest way. But that's when you have a known finite set, right? If your horizontally scrolling data is going to be infinite in like this vertical scrolling panel, then yeah, like your same problem with vertical scrolling, you don't want to have to lay out everything on your screen before you get there, right? I can show an example of this. Leave this in the queue, and then we'll do an example of that.
Okay. All right. Well, and our only final question right now is this one. I was exploring Dartantic AI. Is it server side only to protect the AI API keys?
It is not server-side only. Dartantic was built with two primary goals in mind. One, that it runs wherever Dart runs. So it runs in Dart on the server side, it runs in the Dart command line, it runs in Flutter Web, it runs in Flutter devices, it runs in Flutter desktop, it runs everywhere Dart runs. That's the whole point. The second thing is that you write your agentic code. Here's my prompt, here are my tools, here's my typed output, here I want thinking, I don't want thinking, whatever. You write all of that separately from the the provider's specific model API. So if I want to change it from Google to Anthropic to OpenAI responses, whatever, I just change the name of the model I want to use, and your code continues to run. It has different characteristics at runtime because, of course, they're different models, but the API you write against is constant. Now, to answer this question about API keys, hey, Dartantic, all of the current implementations, all of the current Dartantic provider implementations all use API keys, with the possible exception of, if you're doing things locally on your local machine using Olama, you don't need an API key. It's just making a direct connection on your local machine. That said, the question becomes, well, okay, but if I want to build something and ship it into production, what about protecting those API keys? And Shivram, you're right to ask that question. Hey, what's the best way to secure my API keys? What you do not want to do is use API keys in a production client that you ship, right? So you don't want to encrypt it and put it in your app. You don't want it to be sent over from a server and use an API key there. Because you can do memory attacks, etc. You do not want to expose your API key on the client side. So in that case, you should use Dartantic on the server side. Again, the beauty of Dartantic is it's the same damn code, whether you're running it on the CLI or the client or on the server. So you can experiment and make it work the way you like to on a client or a CLI sample, and then stick it all on the back end. Now, one of the things that I'm building, I'm actually working with a contributor on this, is a Dartantic provider for Firebase AI. And that uses the protection of a Firebase project. So there is an API key, but it never enters your client's memory. You never send it over the wire. It's not present. And in that case, the beauty is you can write the exact same code on the server of the client against different models, right? Firebase AI on your client and Gemini directly on your server, and it would work the same because it's the same model that you're talking to, but it's a different security model. So yes, you can do it on the server side. Yes, you can do it anywhere else from an experimental point of view. Don't ship API keys in your client code, and keep an eye out for a Firebase AI implementation of a Dartantic provider, so that you don't even have to worry about it. You just fire up your Firebase project, enable Gemini or Vertex or Google Gemini or whatever on your Firebase project, and you don't have to worry about API keys on your client at all. Excellent question.
Sounds good. Let's see. Let's hide that, unstar that, and hopefully Simon will return back. Let's see what we can talk about in the meanwhile. Well, we have these two other questions that Simon wants to live code, which I'm sure he'll be back any moment now. Do you do any work at all anymore on GoRouter, or is that just completely given up from you?
Oh, I turned that over to the Flutter team, gosh, years ago.
I know, but do you still like contribute to it and look for bugs?
I do not. I do not noodle on GoRouter. At this point, GoRouter does all of the things I needed to do. I have no complaints. I use GoRouter all the time. And in fact, when I'm doing AI code generation and I tell the agent, hey, I need routing, between multiple pages, it chooses GoRouter and pulls it into my projects for me, right? So it does so many more things, so much more robust than when I handed it off. The team has done a fantastic job. Is it perfect? 100% no, right? Nothing is perfect. Does it do everything? 100% no. But it does so much and so much more than I ever needed to do that I'm very happy with it.
Cool. And
Cool.
Simon's back.
Sorry about that, everyone. I had to
okay.
USB problems. Anyway. Fun times. So we wanted some live coding. Why not? Some live coding.
Yeah. We got to look at that gist first, or?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Grab that open.
We probably shouldn't take any more questions unless it's related directly to the live coding. Yeah. So I'm going to turn off the banner here just to have a little bit more room. Somewhere in there. Up there. Where's the banners for this?
I've done it.
Live stream banner. Oh, you've done it. All right. I should look further to the left on my screen. I see is what you're trying to say.
There it is. So, Bill, I guess your name is. Let's see. Snap Thanos. Let's see what happens if we load this up. So, what's today's date? 25. 11.
11/5.
Remember. The 5th of November. Oh, see, I'm already not liking this. Like, why do I have all these? Like, right. Oh, do I not have Flutter Animate? Probably not. What's the latest version? Free.
Any. Straight any.
I know, but I can't. My brain just says no.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Does that give us what? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's have a quick nosy through the code. So, for those, I know people saw that earlier, but there's like a little disintegrate animation that takes place as part of this sort of Thanos animation, right? And show it again in a minute. Anyway, and so we got black scaffold, element mark snap. We've got a wrap. We've got animate character. Okay. Build produces random values based off the index.
So, gentlemen, unless there are any more questions or any more topics from me, I'm going to drop off and let Simon do his stunt coding, which, I know is one of his favorite things to do.
Thanks for stopping by, Chris. That's great.
Thanks for coming, Chris. It really was a pleasure having you. And you're more welcome to come back anytime.
For sure. If there's some particular topic or event or something that you need me for, I love talking to you guys and to the community. So feel free to rope me in.
And just to let you know, on Monday we do the AI specific chats.
Yeah.
So,
I've done one. I'm happy to do more. Randall, I know you're on that team, right? If you want to pull me into something specific, I'm happy to. I'm about to release Dartantic 2.0, which does media generation and server-side tooling and Nana Banana, and I'm happy to talk about all that or anything, right? Anything that you care about.
All right. As soon as you're releasing that, let's set up a date then.
For sure. Talk to you later.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so this is actually pretty cool, right? So here we've already got
Yeah.
like a good animation starting point here. So you tap on it. They've all chosen basically index. They choose a random direction, and off they go. Right. I would obviously at the moment this is predictable, right? Like they're always going to go off in the same direction. That is the point, by the way, of having the pseudo random number generator. For EXE for repeatability, this is perfectly valid. I will say that there's definitely worth making, like, you know, this state making a stateful widget that manages. So at the moment, this is just a set of animated characters, right? I mean, ideally, the problem here is that this is just the layer above. You can see here that it's not laid out the text correctly, right? I know what you've done here. It's a wrap, right? So you've done the best that you can. Now, the thing is, what you actually want to do is use a text paint, which lays out the text and gives you exactly where the text is and what it looks like. And then you take that information and paint the text using these effects. So at the moment, I appreciate what you're doing here, but at the moment you're talking about performance, and this is because you're going down the widget route. You're basically rebuilding all these widgets and rebuilding and repainting everything at this high level, adding many like animation effects laid on top of each other to do what would be considered a very simple animation. So if you like, we could look at converting this to the paint mechanism, and in doing so, that should solve your performance problem. So Philip, are you still here? Is that something you're interested in? Sorry, just to Cherie, yeah. So there is actually 9-patch stuff built into Flutter. It's called a center rect. You supply the center rectangle, and obviously that declares the outside 9 rectangles. So go look at image widget with center rect, and that does what you want. Okay. Right. I tried grouping a set of characters so I don't apply blur at once. Yeah, okay. So I think that's are people interested in this and doing like some like animation effects? I'm happy to do it. I just don't want okay. Philip said yes, definitely. All right, look, we're gonna go for it. This should be. No, I'm not gonna say it yet.
I know what you're gonna say.
In fact, shall we use some AI for us to help us along?
Sure, if you want.
Why is it?
Sure, why not?
What? Oh, that was from last time. Yeah, let's do another. No, we don't chat. We're not agent. I'm going to do a new one. This is from when we were doing that stuff the other day. Agent, new agent. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Hi. My animation. Sorry, it's really tiny. I don't think I can. I don't even know where the settings are for this. So, I can scale like that. There you go. Perfect. Hi, my animation is running low. I'd like to convert the animated char widget. I like to consolidate the animated char widgets. Consolidate and convert animate char widgets and their behavior into it's American. Oh no. Sure. Whatever. Their behavior into a single not custom paint widget using text painter to determine the position, the natural position of the characters in the text rather than using wrap. So what it does. I'll help you optimize this.
Woohoo! It's exciting. It's always excited though. It's very enthusiastic.
All right, let's see what we can get to do.
Forward into the breach.
Is that big enough for everyone to read? Hope so.
I can read it.
All right, so it's reading it. Now I will create an optimized version using a single custom paint widget with a text paint to handle all the character rendering and animations. This will significantly improve the performance and reduce the widget tree complexity. Exactly what I want.
Yay!
Let me fix the quote character issue.
Ship it.
Let me view the exact character in the line. Now I replace the entire file with the optimized version. I see the issue. There's a special apostrophe character. Okay, sure. Let it go.
Yes.
So you can click, by the way, in Augment Code, you can click on these and then you can see exactly, like what it's removed or changed or what it's trying to do. And
oh, this is Augment. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Apparently it's not the fastest one. It's using Claude Sonnet 4.5 at the moment, but you can change whatever model you want.
I've been doing some intense AI assisted coding for my client over the last few weeks, and it's been pretty crazy and pretty cool.
He wants to write it. Sure. Yeah, didn't think so.
It's not running it near.
It's going to complain that.
Yes, okay, it's fine.
I've been filling around my problematic SDK version here, so let's. Where is it? Yeah, that's why. Why not? Yeah, 327.4. That's the wrong one. Stable. Sure. And it's good. Yeah. Should work now. Yeah. Error. All right, sorry, I don't really care about that. Like, we're going to run it on Humpday optimized. Okay. Let's set it. Let's run it on my local Android device instead of. Just found the device I didn't need, so now it's going to try and run against that device. Oh, maybe it's because I was already running it in Windows, I was having trouble. I don't know, we're just going to see what happens. Summary of optimization. Blah, 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 blah. Should we see what it did? Is this the optimized one? Optimized. Refresh. What errors did it make? Right, let's minimize that for a second. Try out. Yeah. Why is that having a problem? There we go. Okay, so it does build. Okay. Windows, no. Still great. There we go. It's installing. Oh, wow. We have a bottom overflow. and they all seem to animate in the same place. But they are animating. But they are animating, which is interesting. So let's see what it's done wrong, and we'll tell it to fix it. Right, let's try and do some tests and things. Obviously, it failed to run it, so it screwed up there. Anyway, so yeah. Text Painter for layout. Use Text Painter to calculate the natural character position with respect to text wrapping and spacing automatically. Reduce. Yes. Animated Text Painter, which it manages. Yeah. So good. It's Animated Text Painter. Okay. Let's have a quick look at. Let's have our own analysis about what this is doing. Okay, so it's listening to a controller that is supplied, an animation controller. That's nice. If it's snapped, I guess that's if it's true or false, if it's in one direction, the text that's going in. And then initialize the animations, look for the update. On the update set state, not ideal. We certainly don't need to do that to really do this right. But initialize, we split the text up. Again, that's a terrible way of doing that. Just do char codes, right? In fact, is that because that's how the original was doing that? I didn't check, to be honest. Let's have a yeah, it is. Yeah, there's a better way of doing that. Anyway, random 42. So this should match the original behavior that we had in here, right? Where get groups, top characters, yeah. Next, int 6. Okay, interesting. What was the original? Group count. Oh, group count 6. Okay, 6 random groups. Okay. Animations. So we generate a list of a data model called character animation. This is keeping track of the XY blur group character itself. Okay, and then again, piling that in. Then we have custom paint, animate custom text painter. Wherever that came. Again, this is based on that original, so I have no idea what this is expecting compared to the rest. But there's obviously certain things in here that are not correct. Is this in a column? It is. Let's put this in expanded. Now stop the overflow, hopefully. Oh, that's weird. Oh, I can't hot reload because it's Augment that's running it. Boo, terminate. Let's just go for it. The first, this one here. Right, let's run that again. Right, what else we got going on? Let's skip down to where we are. And then, okay, so here's our animated text painter, which is the custom painter. We give it the list of characters. If it snaps, the animation value, which is incorrect. So we actually want to pass the animation controller, and the custom paint can rebuild based on the controller. That means the set state is no longer required. Okay, so it creates a text style, creates a text painter, and passes over the joining of the characters rather than the original text, which it could also do. And then lays out that text based on the max width. Well, this would be based on the size, so that's incorrect as well. We can fix that. It's got us a long proportion of the way there. Oh, look. There you go, look at that.
Wow.
So that's it actually that's it actually working there using a painter.
Nice.
So I think the height not being there was actually what was causing this to it wasn't an expanded, which was causing it to, like, I guess, report this height incorrectly. Anyway, we can sort that out later, right? So this is getting there. So, but again, what's going on here with this spacing? This is totally wrong, right? So get offset for character. Let's go figure out what's going wrong here. So animation X and Y, but surely it should be getting that from, where's the character offset? Character offset's not being used. Oh, it is. final X and Y will be the character start X and Y plus the character XY plus the current, which will give the delta. So here's our start XY, which it should be. So this is all about centering it, right? I mean, we should take the alignment off the text and just have start be referenced to 0, surely. We've got LTR sent, I guess sent. Yeah, well, that should be fine. Well, anyway, look, it's definitely working the way I want it to. So that's nice. And there's some optimizations we can do. And then there's certainly... so a quick look and see what it's actually doing. So it calculates the blur, the scale. So we save the canvas. We apply the translate and scale. So this is to draw each character, right? So this is running this for each character in the animation. So this is where we want to be sort of cautious about this, right? So let's have a look. So translate scale, then uses text painter to lay out the one character at the particular with the particular style. This is where it gets let's do values. This is where it gets a bit more complicated, right? Because this is kind of expensive, right? We want to reuse, if we can, we want to reuse the text painter and choose to supply a different text span, at least. Save layer. Ugh. Is that the only way we can do that? I'm pretty sure you can.
There's ways to do blur without save layer. Pretty sure.
Yeah, you can paint the text with a paint. Hang on a minute. Is it in here? Foreground. Isn't it foreground or is it style? Foreground. So in theory, we should be able to supply this paint. I guess if it's 0, then we'll not set that, right? Maybe we'll just conditionally build this above foreground. Yeah, paint. Let's see how that looks. Because this save layer is costing a lot, by the way. Save layer, you want to try to avoid that. The layer of the, again, if we can use the same character painter, the text painter for the character, we should. And so that's what I'm going to do now. So we'll move this outside the loop. And we'll just reduce this down to, we don't actually need a style in there for what we're doing initially. So there's about having a character painter with some default values on it. And then down here, we set the character painter text to the text span. And then we tell it to relay out. So that's slightly more optimal. The offset at which we're painting it, we could get away probably with not doing the translate, possibly. I suppose you've got scale. Scale has to be applied after the translate. Okay, and then we're not going to do a double restore. Okay, and now this whole thing about should repaint, we can completely fix this up as well. So let's optimize that out of here as well. So this animation value, this is wrong. So we're going to have animation, pass over and do super repaint on animation, and then we'll change this to being actual animation double, right? Let's bring that in as the primary, character animations if it's been snapped. Max width goes away as well. Don't care about that. Max width should be size dot width, right? We're laying out based on the size of our widget. Now we can pass over the actual controller for the animation. And max width goes away. Don't care about that. Size input. This is about pushing the custom paint out to fill its to fill whatever it's been given. Again, what we actually want to do is we can convert this in a minute from a custom paint to a custom render object, and in doing so, then we can choose to have our text be its intrinsic size based on the text paint. Right now, this will do the job. So this set state's no longer needed. We don't need to listen like this. This goes away. This goes away. All this junk. This goes away.
Mm-hmm.
So if the text changes, we need to reinitialize our animations, which reinitializes the character animations widget value. Sorry. That should be fine. Suppose no longer needed. And then this really is animated snap, Thanos snap, because this is really particular to this animation, right? So, the text, if it's snapped, and the controller, the animation controller. Why do we have that so that we can snap it on and off outside? We could do that intrinsic, which would probably be better, right? So we'll change that in a minute. We don't have to do that right now. Let's see how this performs. Let's restart. It's certainly struggling with those blurs.
Oh.
It's not too bad. You probably can't turn the screen share, by the way, just to.
Oh yeah, no, it looks smooth to me, but you know.
It's smooth. Once it's done it once, it's smooth because it's preloaded. It's made the shaders, right? But
okay.
I feel like it's hard to tell if it's some drop frames. Hang on, let's
Profile it?
I would want to, but apparently it's not gonna. Oh no, it doesn't. Why is it connected to desktop? What's going on here? Let me just see if this works. There we go. Yeah.
The red bars.
Yeah. So this is in debug mode, right? First of all, not in profile mode, right? So this is what it's complaining about here this morning here, just to let us know. So it isn't expected to drop like frames. I'm just doing it really slowly here. So yeah, you can see like this is all the red bars are the problem, right?
Yep.
So we've improved it. We have improved it, but there's still way too much going on here. And again, this kind of comes down to what we're actually trying to do. Let's turn it off. Let's do a couple of things here, right? So we're going to paint. Oh,
you're gonna lose me in 5 minutes. So if you don't want to,
well, apparently we didn't build the latest one because it didn't.
Oh no! You're running previous code. Wow.
So maybe this will be better.
Ah.
Yep, don't need that anymore. Okay, look, it did not compile at all the way I was expecting. So let's restart. Let's see. Does it blend? Would it blend?
Yankees, Shaggy.
Hang on. We're still high in our frames. So the way we work this now, so obviously I can turn on the slow animation so we can see what's going on. It's this, look, see the rest of the time, 151 milliseconds to rest of one frame. That's completely what's causing the problem, which is basically just that we're asking it to essentially render too much in the way that we want. This is where I mean, I can tell you right now, it's probably the blurs. Let's have a look and see what happens if we just get rid of the blurs and see how that changes the performance, right?
I guess that's why they call it the blur.
Right.
Oh, nope, still bad. Is the opacity? No.
52, 61. I mean, these are damn sight better than 150. But again, remember, still remember that we're doing this in debug, right? So we can look at what this looks like in profile mode. I'm definitely curious. It's really this, I think, like there's a certain aspect of we're calculating all this layout of text, but why do we need to do this? Because we need to paint the text. And you can't, and a text painter itself, this is what annoys me about the text stuff. When you try and do this kind of level, we're kind of at that point of how, like, so we can do draw. So that's a good point. We can actually pre-calculate the paragraph object for every text, every piece of text.
Oosh.
No, but that would actually probably optimize things as well.
Okay.
So basically, for those that don't understand, so Dart's text engine doesn't actually use like Text Painter, right? Text Painter is a Flutter thing. What it actually uses is just Canvas draw paragraph. A paragraph is is UI paragraph. It's the underlying drawing of text, right? So you need to have a paragraph as your output to draw. So this has you can see here, width, height, longest line, intrinsic dimensions. Then we have our sort of layout get box. This is the underlying thing. Now in here, where is it? Native paragraph. There is a function for painting. So this is what ideally what we want to do is do this once, and we get all the glyph information. We get all of the information about the position of all the boxes and everything, the text, and then. But the problem here is about paint. I don't at the moment we have to create one for each of the individual. There's no like draw this offset of text, right? So basically, there needs to be a paragraph object for the main paragraph, and then one for each character to be able to paint it. The other thing you can do is effectively cache a picture, which are the drawing commands for drawing that paragraph. For each one, that might be another option to optimize this out.
Well, I got to bounce.
You need to go.
Yeah, I'm up against a meeting, so.
No worries. Cool. Well, nice.
It was fun being on the show again. Hopefully, see you next week.
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
Ciao for now.
Yeah, not end stream. Don't press end stream. That's not good.
Hey, don't do that, please. Right, we'll go on for a little bit longer, I guess. Bear with. Right. Okay. Let's get back to this. Let's see if we can optimize this. Okay. So first of all, I'm kind of liking where we're going with this. There's still a bit to do with the structure. I think let's change a little bit with the structure here so that we're good, and then go from there. So text, that goes in, we can get it in line, and this animation controller, we're getting rid of that. We're gonna move it into the widget itself. Right. Cool. I'm not gonna pass it in anymore. Okay, so we create the controller, and dispose of it correctly, and then that controller is the one that's being used down here. And then all we need to do is inside of Dart update here, we say if snapped not equal to old snapped, then we choose to direct the animation to the appropriate place. And then the toggle snap still is in there, but we're doing it here. Cool. Get rid of that. I feel like I'm missing something. Surely I want to run it in reverse. I swear I was doing that, but maybe it's me. Add some emojis to the text. Yeah, we could do. Should work all the same. Oh, the snapped value is. I see what's going on. Sorry, that's interesting. Yeah, that's probably something I would change as well. Get rid of the snapped value from being. Yeah, so this is just. That's interesting. Oh, I guess so. It's fine. All right. So we're not doing blurs at the moment. We're just doing move. Hang a minute. Are we getting blurs, or is that just me? They look like they're getting blurred. Why do they look like they're getting blurred? How can they be like they're getting blurred? What's the point? Let's reinstall. Maybe it didn't. Okay. I'm very confused. How? How? I need to know how. Also, what's going on with this text? It doesn't look like it's laying out correctly. Maybe this is the... That's for the text. Oh, there's spaces in between each one. Is that what the problem is? Let's just do text. Yeah. And then now split. That's one way of doing it. See if we can use direct code units. That'll probably be better as well. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I've been running the wrong code all this time. Are you kidding me? Use it error. Use it error. That was the original code. No wonder. No wonder it was bad before. Okay. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's funny. All right. Yeah. Let's see what happens. This is probably all be broken. We haven't been running all this generate code for all this time. Oh dear. Yeah, I just autocomplete. It's fine. It's not. I wasn't caring that much about what it's doing there. Yeah, so the reason why it looks the same is because we're using the same random seed, but we should pass it as a parameter or use or when the widget builds the first time it stores that initial value that it uses, like the current time, and use that as the seed. And that way, continuing frames of animation after that always use the same seed, which is what is required to get the animation to run correctly in random directions, right? This is what this is why it's pseudo random number generator. This is why it's reason why it's important. But right now, having a fixed number there, fine for testing purposes, right? Oh, it's so much better. Oh, let's have a look. Oh, this is gonna look even better. Come on. Let's see. What do we have here? Let's see some frames. Come on. Snap. Oh, look at that. Okay, there's a couple that glitch above, and this is in debug mode. This is brilliant. This is smooth as butter. So my idea of using the paint was obviously the performance improvement, which I expected it should be. So that's good. These are my marbles. Let's add the blur back in and see how this performs. And there's still more performance things that we can do. So that's a good to know as well. I don't know why my snap button is underneath the head there. I'm just gonna stick a I'll do. We should get a safe error anyway. I know. Let's see how well this performs with the blur. Oh, interesting. Oh, we're still waiting. That's not what I was expecting. Okay. Augment, a color augment is just shorthand for color. Yeah. Can I provide both color and foreground? Aha. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to take this and put this on foreground. Foreground equals paint. Oops. We can actually optimize this as well. That's another story. Let's do this first of all. There's a few different ways of optimizing these things as we go, but dot color equals this. Now that's interesting. So I don't know why that was that, but we certainly don't need that. And now the point here is we're going to have mask only being applied when a blur is needed. Okay. Cool. This is what I want. Let's run it and see what happens. Ooh. Okay, so that's interesting. So there's we obviously want there's something going on there with the fade out, right? Because the fade has to get to 0. The opacity has to get to 0 by the time it ends moving, right? So our fade progress actually wants to be I'm not sure. It feels to me like it's coming in, it's fine. Going out, they seem to get stuck and then disappear. But I'm actually wondering now if that's just because of the blur, like our current blur factor is just getting like wildly too large. We choose random blur radiuses when we initialize. Times 4 plus 2. Is the opacity value static? No. It's based on the fade progress, right? So you're going one. If you're snapping, it's coming from in reverse. Basically, it's going forward. That's what the idea of these two things are. And the fade progress is a there's actually a better way of doing this, which is double. I thought it was double, but now it's not double. Queen, lerp double. Lerp, no, it's global. Sorry, lerp double. Lerp double. Yeah. So lerp double basically does the same, contextually the same thing, but it kind of, to me, it reads better when I read it. So that's essentially what this is doing here. But we're not gonna go there yet. We could so each. Well, I think since we're running over, we'll probably end it here. There's definitely more that I'd like to do with this to get it perfect, but to be honest, that's actually a really good stopping point, I think. We've got the text laying out correctly. Oh, you want to try it with some emojis? You want to get some emojis in, didn't we? Let's put some emojis in there. I don't know. There you go. Emoji there, and we have a rocket. There you go. Let's see. Emojis should just work just the same. Snap. The font is not supporting the rendering of the emojis. That's interesting. No reason why it shouldn't work. You could also use change this for a text span. You know what this is? Hang on a minute. That may be a reason to split. I know exactly what's going on here, and that's probably my fault actually. Hang on, let's see if this works. Hang on, this will be funny. I reckon this will probably fix that because we've got graphing groups. No, yes, no. Did it rebuild? Oh. String is not well formed UTF-16. It's the way it's put the emoji in there. There should be no reason why. That's interesting, isn't it? Or is that, or is there some magic that's happening and convert them into images beforehand? Interesting. I can't think of a reason why that wouldn't work, to be honest, off the top of my head, but I think this is a good place to stop. I think, yeah, I mean, we can, hang on, let me just see if I can get, let me see, let's see if it does that. Should have saved it beforehand, but we'll see. This way it wrecks it completely. Oh, okay. That's one way of doing it. Okay, so now let's have a look. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Lerp double, lerp double, lerp double. That makes more sense to me. It's beauty. Interesting enough, though, it uses it decided to do it this way. So I'm gonna get rid of that. And then UI dot down directly down here. No need for that at all. I mean, if I said UI dot, I had a feeling that it may not understand what that is. So, well, that's question. That's question. What's going on here? That's a good point. Right. I think that'll do. So we're going to stop it there. I'm going to take all of this. We're going to edit this latest one, paste it in there. Put your name on there as well. Where's the original? Hey, Phil. Just Phil. Okay, Phil. Whatever. It's MIT license, right? So people can like have a play around with it and see what they can get to do. Right, I'm gonna fork your gist and get that published for everyone. One moment. You guys can try it. It's really smooth, and I think doing that in release mode, you're not going to have any stutters whatsoever. Just bear with me, people. So for those that don't know, when we do live coding, it all goes up on my gists. You can access my gist and go through all the ones that we publish every week. What are we calling this? Thanos click animation. Today is the 5th of November. Did I forget? I just realized. Why did I do that? Try that again. Leave. Fork. This way it leads back to the original author. Yeah, here we go. Edit. Right. I'll make it public. Make public as well. Sorry. Right. Okay. That's published now. So I'll put a link in the chat for those that want to play along. Yeah, so you can follow it on this very address here. I'm quite curious if people want to try that. Hang a minute. No, that's the old code. It didn't copy in. My bad. Try again. Update. There we go. Now it is. Apologies. Now it is. So if you want to try and optimize that, there's certainly ways you can optimize that. So as I said before, right now we're creating and we're laying out every time we repaint, even though the text hasn't changed, we're relaying out and assuming that the layout has changed. So all the use of text painters here and running layout is completely not needed, right? Like, because once you've done it once you have a fixed size you're rendering in, that's the size you're rendering in. So once you've laid them out, they should be cached, and then you can just reuse their method and information and paint on them. So we could take advantage of draw paragraph to get rid of the fact that we're doing this character painted down here. So you draw a paragraph for that. That means you need to calculate the paragraph from this text span. And for those, so as I said, it's canvas.draw paragraph, which is, very similar to the original. Oops, sorry. And you can create your paragraph builder. And you put that. Sure, that will. It's kind of right, I guess. I was just the AI just putting some stuff in there. It's not exactly correct, but it'll do. So we have our base style, which is being pumped in through whatever text style we're getting. If I remember right, paragraph style can be built from a text style. So there is actually text style dot build paragraph or something like that. Hang on, let's have a look. Text style dot get paragraph style. That's the one. That was in there somewhere. And then we can, so instead of doing this thing that they're doing here, we put that in there. And then we need to override the things that we were doing on layout. So in this case, that would, or in fact, for an individual text character, we don't need any sort of layout. And then we've got our foreground paint that we want to use. The color doesn't actually need to go in there because that's supplied by the paint. So we definitely don't need to lay out. And push style, add text. What is the problem here? I'll push style return to void. That should be fine. You got the paragraph builder. Hang on. Oh, okay, yeah. So, in theory, I'll update in a second. Sorry, I know I wasn't going to carry on, but let's do this. So this should paint the character without the need for the extra text painter now. So that's going to be, again, slightly more optimal. Slightly. So as you can tell, again, so this is me coming back to this. So let's just rebuild that. Let's run it. Just make sure it runs. Where's this? I'm running that before. We're now in the other file. Let me delete that file. Whilst that builds, yeah, so again, you can imagine that this is a paragraph builder that outputs from the build a paragraph. It is a mutable object. If we do this once and hand those paragraphs to our painter, then we can get away with like, well, actually look at this. The paragraph's immutable. We can't. Can we change the paint? I don't think we can change the paint. That's annoying. If draw paragraph took a paint as a parameter, then we would be okay. But because our foreground changes per character, we have to rebuild it. But at least we don't have to do layout and a bunch of other random text layout stuff because we already know the exact position of the character, right? And it's already been positioned in that space. So this should just come out looking exactly like it did before without the extra need for text calculation. Right. Let's see. And fail. That's what I get. Native cat. Interesting. It's just optimized out everything. Yeah. Something is not true in Paint&Dart online 7,000. Thanks very much. And something inside draw paragraphs, though. We've obviously supplied something. I'm assuming that it's relying on some extra things to be in here. I'm pretty sure I know what that is. Can I? Now, do you know what? I'm going to pop this here. We could be here for a while otherwise. You've got the Let's Code. If you guys want to have a play around, I'll pop this in the chat and then you can have at thee. But I think that's where I'll end it for today. Thank you for joining me and the others on today's show. And I guess we'll see you same time, same place next week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the stream and channel. And be sure to talk about to your friends what we do here and see if they can join next week. All right, then. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and see you again next week. Bye.